The world is absolutely upside down. The narrative we're being told, it's absolutely mental and upside down. So while crazy, unpredictable, mentally unstable Zionists like Ben Shapiro mean that we literally, those who are protesting against genocide in Gaza and West Bank, are literally supposed to be thanking them, the Israel, for stopping the genocide, while at the same time he is telling us that it was not a genocide by any stretch of any definition. Mental, right? Of course, Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, Israeli B'Tselem humanitarian organization, even the UN, they are wrong. It's propaganda. This was not a genocide. This is still not a genocide. Yeah. So not even that, but also the peace plan, which I call a peace plan, offered by Trump. This is not a peace plan. We're supposed to believe that it has anything to do with peace, which I wish it was. But no, it's just another ceasefire. Ceasefire that was already breached and broken by Israel, as every single ceasefire since ever. There was like, what, 3,000 in the entire history? Like, I just cannot believe that there are still people, and there are, who are not Zionists, who believe this propaganda. It's just mental, and makes me doubt humanity completely. But people like Ben Shapiro, who is literally like a propagandist for Israel, basically a USA traitor, because he's working first and foremost. He's like a foreign agent. He works for Israel inside of the US, and his interest, like many other Zionists, is not the best interest of the USA. It's the best interest of Israel. I will tell you one thing. In the Hitler circle of evil, there was his main propagandist was considered a criminal. By the way, in the last days of the Second World War, when Hitler and exactly his acquaintances knew that they're gonna lose the war, they were hiding in a bunker, and there was like Sodom and Gomorrah going on. But the propaganda minister of the Third Reich, he was, first of all, very powerful. Second of all, he was unfortunately very good in propaganda, and his propaganda was lethal and deadly. He committed suicide, just like Hitler did, in the last days in this bunker, together with his wife, and they unalived their 3 or 4 children. So the guy was completely brainwashed, yeah? He was also brainwashed by his own propaganda. My point is, propaganda, everything like this, genocide starts from propaganda, starts from making someone believe that another human group of people is lower than you. It's like in a German word, Untermensch. Israelis are Übermensch, they're superior, they're the chosen ones, right? So my point being is that every evil starts with propaganda, and all these propagandists, including Ben Shapiro, are criminals, and they should be treated as such. But of course, no rules apply to the USA. Actually, the guy should stand trial in Nuremberg, should be, I will not say what, but in Hague, and let's be honest, together with Netanyahu, Ben-Gvir, Bezalel Smotrich, Itamar Ben-Gvir, Bezalel Smotrich, and this entire circle of evil. But this is one thing. Propaganda, dangerous, propagandists, pro-Israel, pro-genocide should be dismissed. But another thing that we are supposed to believe, that this is a peace plan, this is a ceasefire. Now I'm reading exactly just now. First of all, from the very beginning, Israel was breaching all the breaching the ceasefire agreement. They killed at least 7 Palestinians. No, it was in one day. They killed more Palestinians, while they're also killing and terrorizing Palestinians in the West Bank. But no mention in the wonderful Trump's peace plan, no mention of West Bank, no mention of Palestine. What an utter joke, what an utter like insult to our intelligence, really. But that's the point. I don't think they even care. Just like some certain Israeli representatives said, we don't care what Americans think. We own the Congress. Thank you. Mic drop. That's it. But I also read now, at least I was happy that finally some supplies, medical supplies and food supplies are reaching Gaza. But now I read in the Norwegian newspaper NRK that Israel is refusing to open the border in Rafah, which is bordering with Egypt. It was supposed to be done. Hundreds of trucks and lorries with supplies are waiting on the border. Hundreds, and they were supposed to let it in on Thursday, but no, they decided not to. Of course, some idiotic reasons, but the truth is they don't even need to give any reasons, because they have impunity. They don't need to excuse themselves. They don't need to. Completely, the standard for Palestine is completely different than standard for the Israel. But we know that not even the standard for the USA, for the for Russia, for any European country is different than Israel standard for the Israel. Israel doesn't have to keep any agreements, any promises. They can breach whatever deals they want, because they get no punishment for it. They get no consequences. I don't want to be living in such a world that there is a country that runs other countries and can do whatever they want. I don't want to. We need to do something about it. But how the whole world was protesting, and it helped. I'm not saying it was pointless action, not at all. Actually, just before this October 7th, on 6th of October 2023, Gaza was forgotten completely. What happened? Hundreds of thousands of innocent lives of innocent children had to be martyred in order for the world to wake up. So this changed the course of the world forever. Maybe even it started the process of hopefully dismantling Israel one day. I really hope so. But at the same time, if Israel goes down, USA has to also go down. Like it cannot serve as a main military power in the world. There has to be another military power, because this is like the symbiotic, disgusting relationship between the USA and Israel. Israel is just a leeching off USA taxpayers' money. But yeah, they can imagine, like, this double standard is so severe and it's so crazy that imagine if Arabs, let's say Arabs, but any Arabs, but let's say, okay, Palestinians, for the argument's sake, we're keeping over 2 million Israelis, half of it children, in an open cage for 80 years, slaughtering them from time to time in big numbers. It did not start on October 8th, the slaughter, okay? It started before 1917, at least in 1917, since the Balfour Declaration. But imagine that Israeli people were kept in open cage, half of the children, then just cut food supply, water supply, electricity, and started carpet bombing this prison. Imagine that. What would Western media say? That would never ever be allowed. Like, double standard is sick, and I'm so sick of Israel. I'm so fed up with their lies. Every single accusation is a confession. Here we have another proof that there was never, first of all, they never ever gave us any proof except their empty words for the fact that there were any tunnels under any hospitals, under any medical facilities. And now we get new discoveries and proves that it was a lie, because they were using video game visualizations. Sick, just sick. While, by the way, exactly, every accusation is a confession. While they have tunnels under their most dense areas in case an attack. Remember the Hannibal Directive. They don't care about their civilians. That's why they were accusing of Hamas not caring about their civilians. Hamas was caring even about their hostages. I saw interviews with Israeli hostages from before, not from now. This is another topic, and we'll get to that in a second. That were thanking their captors for taking care of them and making sure that they survived the carpet bombing that IDF was doing on Gaza. This is mental. I also saw interviews with Israeli, probably many of you as well, but Israeli hostages talking even with warmth about their captors. I know there is a thing like a Stockholm syndrome. Maybe they had a Stockholm syndrome, but still Stockholm syndrome does not come out of anything. This comes when actually your captor turns out to be a nice person and has some greater aim in all of this. Like, and can you see, like, the emotions everywhere? And I'm proud of my emotions. I'm proud of my rage. Why? Because that makes me human. That means that I have a heart, I have a conscience, and people like all these Zionists, the entire government, 70% of Israeli people, like leeches and weasels like Ben Shapiro, Douglas Murray, they are psychopaths. They have at least, maybe Douglas Murray, selective empathy, which is the wrong kind of empathy. That means you are just a psychopath. Selective empathy, psychopath. And in worst case, sociopath. In worst case, psychopath. But anyways, have you seen the videos of and pictures of Palestinian hostages that were now released? Of course, Israel and Western media call them prisoners. They done nothing. They were not charged. They didn't stand any trial, but they are prisoners. This is, everything is heartbreaking and enraging, but this is another contrast. When they come out of the Israeli torture chambers / jails, in the best case scenario, they all the hair are gone, turn white. In the worst case scenario, just like I saw today, a guy without limbs, tortured, and without eyes, coming out of as a hostage. While Israeli hostages are like smiling, that some of them had exact same weight as before. Like, the comparison is, there's no comparison. Plus, of course, Western media coverage of Palestinian fathers coming back to their families, seeing them after 20 years, crying, praying, heartbroken. Nothing, right? Their lives are not important. So this is just unbelievable. And by the way, the other day I had to mention that I saw an interview on Piers Morgan, I think it was. Yeah, it was on Piers Morgan with the guy from the alternative media, the Young Turks. And I don't remember, he's a Turk. I don't living in USA. I don't remember his name, or I don't know how to pronounce it, but he was debating Douglas Murray. And I'll tell you, I'm guilty of listening to Douglas Murray before. I will tell you why. But first of all, this guy from the Young Turks, who was very against the hypocrisy of this whole I don't want to say crisis or war, but the genocide, how the media cover Israel and how media cover Palestine. And he was enraged. He was just, but he was speaking with feelings, and that's good. I'm also enraged. If you have feelings, you should be enraged. But as I mentioned before, Douglas Murray is a sociopath. So while I've seen lots of body analysts on YouTube, a really cool thing to watch, but while the guy from the Young Turks gets enraged and like fuming about dead children, asking Douglas Murray, you don't care about it, about Palestinian babies, you don't, and children being slaughtered, being suffocated in the hospitals, and Douglas Murray is like, literally, I can see him like smirk, and then his words say something completely different. Of course, he said, I care, but, so there's always a but, yeah, many buts. I will tell you what, for example, but I care, smirk. No, he doesn't. It is literally contempt. When you're smirking with one side of your face, this is contempt. This is no empathy. This is no, he does not care, and we know that. He does not care because they are Arabs, because they are Muslims. But what is the most pathetic and really incriminating and for Douglas Murray, who is basically for me, he's a spoiled brat with some degree, probably from a posh family, posh boy, who either was told his entire life that he's so amazing just because he comes from a posh family. So he's so amazing, he's so talented, he's so smart, he's so better, he's so well spoken. Or the other way around. I suppose that one of these scenarios or the other, he's still a posh boy from family with money, but his family never had time for him. And he had to gain love from his parents by his achievements. So this like a conditioned way of love. So he had to prove that he's lovable. So he became this arrogant, spoiled brat. So that was so low of him to start attacking the guy from the Young Turks for being like emotional about the whole thing, about the genocide, about babies and children being slaughtered in hundreds of thousands. He has a problem with his demeanor and his lack of eloquence. So he's getting on him. Oh, I see, like I don't remember the words exactly he used, but basically trying to indicate that the guy was like a low life, like, you know, some street person. Really, like, you're so pathetic, Douglas. Your money could buy you a like higher education, your family's money. You're just a spoiled brat. That's all you are, and a sociopath. Plus, I don't think it's so impressive when you are eloquent in your first language. How many other languages do you speak? Because I am Polish, and my Polish language was blooming before I moved to Norway. And in my everyday life, I speak Norwegian, but I speak it and write it fluently. But my point is, it's not such a great achievement to speak your native language, like to be eloquent in your native language. I don't think at all. I've read so many books and also used words that sounded profoundly. But first of all, it's not such an achievement. This is your native language. You rather should, yeah, if you read some books as you claim you did, yeah, you rather should have some, have eloquence. But still, that doesn't change the fact that you lack a character. You lack, of course, humanity, but you lack character. And obviously, when you lose in an argument, just like you were losing the argument with this Sank, as I said, his name from the Young Turks on the Piers Morgan show, you started with insults ad hominem. Just like as someone wrote beautifully, when you start with insults and comments ad hominem, that means you're losing an argument. That's what you were doing. That's the only thing that you've learned your entire life, to be an arrogant prick. Just because your parents, just because you come from some affluent area and posh snobs, that's nothing to be proud of. Plus, really, I would be more impressed if you were not, if it was not your native language, the way you speak, you consider yourself very eloquent, and if that was a language that you, a second language, if you're bilingual and you've learned that when you were 25, let's say, like I've learned speak Norwegian fluently and write since I was 25. English is not my native language either. Maybe it's easy to distinct and to notice, but still, exactly, that's not my first language. So don't be so proud of yourself, because there's nothing to be proud in being a sociopath. And I want to say at the very end, this was this Douglas Murray rant, but yeah, the guy is just like disgusting. Unfortunately, I was listening to him before. I was really buying his propaganda, but I want. If you are pro your country, you're fighting for the rights of your country, like Douglas Murray seemed like he was trying to fighting for the UK to still remain UK, for its traditions to be upheld, to not erase their identity as British. I understand that, and you're perfectly. It's perfectly fine to try to protect your identity and your country, to be a nationalist in a good sense, in a good sense of it, like yeah, to guard your traditions. And that's true. There have been many. I understand that there were many scandals, like the rape gang scandals in the UK, which were Muslim rape gangs that government of the UK knew about, or was hiding for. But that's my point. Something else, if you are really pointing at concrete, like some concrete facts, actual problems, and I see this is a problem. You shouldn't be silent about that. But the moment I realized that in order to uphold his agenda in the UK, he and many others is turning the blind eye on other Arabs and Muslims being slaughtered, and just because Israel is lobbying both the UK and the USA, just because they're lobbying and paying the money and basically owning them, you are on the side of Israel just because, probably because they're white, because many of them are Ashkenazi Jews from Europe and from Poland. I'm from Poland, unfortunately. Unfortunately, we are from the same country, but then it's not okay anymore. The same the other way around. I will not say, oh, let's not talk about rape gangs in the UK. They were Muslim, and now Muslims are, under the radar. So let's like pretend it did not happen. This is not okay. Both cases are separate and should be looked upon separately. The genocide happening, Israel is on the wrong, Palestine is on the right. Arabs and Muslims are on the right. In this case of the rape gangs or situations like, which is not fine either, that you cannot call a Christmas market, but festive market or something like that, because you were hurt feelings of other people and nations and traditions. This is not okay either. Yeah, great, fight for it. But don't turn your blind eye on other issues just because it fits your agenda. But we know Douglas Murray is sponsored by Israel as well, just like 90% of the House of Lords, 90% of Congress in the USA. You don't believe me? Look it up. You can see exactly how much money from the APAC each politician in the USA gets. So the same with House of Lords. So my screen turned off. So yeah,